Now, the rest of the story.
Welcome back to the rest of the story. And this is probably the worst I've seen the bottom in a long time. In years, not a lot of years. I'd say maybe 3. And the reason I say that is because down through all the waterways, and honestly even the big long one with all the steep hillsides on either side of it, we had some pretty wicked washing, flooding down through here. And to the point where we actually have water standing, where I haven't had water standing in at least 2 years. So this little spot here, there, this roadway through here, and to be honest, it stinks. So any of that loose residue material that we had in the field or left in the field or in the waterway has been washed out of the field effectively and pushed right down here. So I haven't checked the rain gauge because I came down here Sunday, Sunday, before all this rain, and we didn't have any of this. Locally, we had 2.5 inches over this past weekend, and kind of the theme I've had here lately, between being down here and up at home, was we had what, 1.5 inches up at home. That one of those last rainstorms, they had 4/10 down here. And for seeing how much water is standing down here, I mean, there's all water standing through here. Yeah, I haven't seen this wet in a significant amount of time, because, well, you can see the water was pulled clear out into the field. I bet we actually had some pretty nasty standing water. I don't know if I really want to go so far as to say is maybe it actually flooded down here, to be honest with you, because you can see, well, gee whiz, I wasn't expecting to see all this when I came down here, to being completely honest with you, which that is what the rest of the story is really not much point in filtering much of anything. Yeah, I'm saying it's safe to say that at least we had a fair little percentage of the ground down here was flooded. And that right there is the telltale sign, because everything runs off of the hill and the bench, and then it gets down into this low-lying area here, and it actually gets kind of trapped, so it pools. And the only real exit for any water through here, which is really annoying, is clear down into that standing, it's actually swamp ground essentially, clear over there. As far as this stuff goes, it's really not doing much as far as hurting the regrowth. And we get another rain here, and well, less than a week, they're already calling for another chance of rain. Not as significant as this past weekend. And that'll help push that down through. It'll turn into mulch. That's fine enough. I'm not even worried about picking that up in the bale or in the rake or anything. But no, I haven't seen it like this. I don't think anybody's really seen it do this, because this is the cleanest this has been in essentially ever, from what the landowners have told me. So seeing the water that is backed up like this is, I'd say, is pretty significant. The reason I also say that is because there is a water gauge up the river from here. I mean, the Grant is right where those trees are, and the water gauge up there on Saturday night, it shot up to 10 feet, then it was backing down throughout the day, and then we got that rain again Sunday night, and then that rain gauge. So we had Saturday, and then it was coming back down, and then we hit Sunday, and it shot back up to a little over 10 feet again, and now it is teetering back down. It really shouldn't have been enough to flood down through here, but from what I'm seeing, a lot of the water came from up above and is actually came from that direction, because I'm not seeing, is if the water even backed up, you'd see more signs of water standing over along the river. And as you can tell, all of this it looks like it came from the hillside. So my guess is this low lying area filled up, couldn't handle all the water that came up out of nowhere, and it did this. And you can actually see the grass is already poking through this. So I'm not really worried about that at all, to be honest with you. Might have a little bit of a stunted spot here and there, but well, as far as this down here, I really wasn't planning on spraying it. Now we do this, I'm not going to risk tearing up the field. And for how much this is greened up since we made it, we cut it July 27th. It is what, the 8th already, and the material here, the grass, has already come back as much as it has. So I'm not, to be completely honest with you, I'm not planning on doing too much with this down here. I'm gonna let it produce what it's gonna produce, and that'll be that. I might be kicking myself for doing that, but for what second crop did, I think there's enough goodies in the ground yet, my own personal opinion, and for seeing how green this is, even that up there, that actually looks pretty impressive. For how much liquid I put down for second crop and how light my second crop was, I don't have a whole lot of desire to come down and put several $1,000s worth of liquid. So you hear that? That water sloshing? You're not supposed to hear that in any of your fields, right? So I think we're done spraying for the year, to be completely honest. This stuff looks like it's coming back better than what it came back for second crop. And moisture was a big question for how much rain it got after first cut down here. And I am going to say that it really doesn't have that excuse for going into third crop. I mean, this through here, oh man, this stinks. But this through here was the roadway. And the reason this is a different grass is because I came down through here with the VT 3 years ago. That first year was in September. We came down, made it. We ended up getting rained out, flooded out. And it was so soft by the time that we were able to come through and do anything down here. This was all rutted up. So I just came down with the VT, smoothed it out, seeded something back down in here. And in closing, what this whole video is trying to get to is mole plow. This kind of, you know what, that we're looking at is exactly what that mole plow was purchased for. I'll go through, we're going to let Mother Nature do what it wants to do. I'm going to try to get third crop made off of here as best I can. Ideally, I can make 100% of it, because I mean, we got over a month yet before I'm going to try to make this. It's a lot of time for this to dry out. But then I'm going to go through, after we're done making hay for the year, and I want to go through all these low areas and make a couple runs through them, even if I don't have designated outlets for them, because honestly, the bottom isn't flat. It's got the slightest of hill to it, where actually it just doesn't, it's actually draining this way than it is towards the river. So my intentions are to really just go through and make a bunch of those drainage lines, because that cast ball on the back of that plow is going to make some poor man's tiling, and it's going to allow some of this water to get away from these areas. Even if they're dried up, I'm trying to create those poor man tiling so they exist over the winter into next year, and it'll allow it to dry out that much better next spring, because it's been 2 years since I've seen water sit in either of those spots. Because otherwise we were having to drive clear up to where this heavier green stuff is, and then drive around all the way through that because it was so soft. And I don't know, we're fighting the good fight, trying to keep this as productive as possible down. And as far as just throwing up the white flag on it and letting Mother Nature claim it back, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not. We put way too much work in this down here to just let it grow back up and just go back to junk. Look at that. It's my biggest issue with that tedder, is you go through teeth way too quickly on it. So I'm gonna go check the rain gauge and see if the landowners have dumped it out yet, but that was actually kind of surprising. I mean, I knew it rained down here, but I didn't know it rained like that, so well, that's kind of a surprise. Oh well, plan for the best, we'll deal with the rest. I'll talk to you later.